Thank you.
Chaim, everybody, the Chaim, the Bracha. So, Chaburah, Be'ez Hashem, Matzah Shabbos, Sunday Shabbos. So, Chaburah, everybody, welcome. Shalom Aleichem. For first timers to this gewaldige, uplifting preparation for Shabbos here. This Shabbos is, of course, the most awesome Shabbos in the world. As is every Shabbos, Parshas Balak. Person goes through the Heilige Parsha. There's a tremendous pella, a wonder, an unbelievable, like, what's going on that seems very strongly to stick out, and that is, what in the world is going on with Bilam? If God can talk to me, then I know He's real, and I know He exists. Doesn't everybody wish that God will say hi to him and talk to him and say, I don't care what he tells me. I mean, just talk to me. Tell me if I'm doing good, if I'm not doing good, say hi. Here, Bilam, the most despicable, and later we see the biggest pervert as well. I mean, his wife is the donkey, as we know. And Hashem throughout the whole parsha,
saying nothing is like a regular guy.
Nah, it is his chief, but like mamish, the worst. And Hashem is talking to him throughout the whole parsha. So what's going on? I'm a male, the guy that's the whole time saying, God wants me to do something good, wants me to be right. Let him say hi to me. Here he's talking to him the whole time in his face. What's going on? And we'll see soon in the psukim how strong like this, it sticks out. Like, Yamamish, Hashem is for real. So what are you doing? So, I don't know if I'm here to, give over the whole answer or anything, but just a little idea which is very, very important and a geya for each and every one of us and every Yid in the world. But now let's just focus on ourselves. At least I should focus on myself, but I think it's a very important thing. And we'll start off with a piece from Reb Hamivtar. A little story. And that is, everybody knows about the Dibuk. There was a time it was pretty common. It was a frequent event. The Dibuk is a soul. It's pretty messed up. And therefore, heaven is like, you're not welcome up here. So he starts traveling, he tries to come back down to this world. And the world tells him, you dropped dead, you can't belong here. Gotta go back up. And Mamish Kafakeli is being yo-yoed and baseball catched from one side of the world to the next side of the world. He has no ticket.
What happens now?
Now, I'll tell you, the pashtus of Dvarim, why? I mean, it can happen, but the Mitzvah says Hashem treats every generation with its koyach. We'll get to it. You have to have been really big. I've dealt with the Dibuk, and simply Al Pi Pashtus, I'm sure these great tzaddikim, great people, probably, they had to deal with it, they can deal with it, but it's not, I think that the dar is probably not strong enough
Remember?
Of course. Of course. We've had in the last 20 years two of
What are
them.
we talking about? Sounds like
There was twice in the last year, but I don't want to get into it because some people said I was, but he was a big tzaddik, the Makubal that dealt with it, and he had a Kabbalah from his Zayder, Buddha Pataya, how to deal with it. I mean, it can be dealt with, but the Maisa, twofold. Number one, maybe even threefold. Number one, I don't know if we're ready to hack it. What happens? This neshama is looking for some place to rest. The neshama's got to be somewhere. So usually he finds for lack of a better terminology, a quite sinful individual that's not holding in the holiest of places, and he'll park in that fellow, literally fly into him, and that fellow, whether it's a woman or a man, could be any of them, literally becomes a little bit mentally retarded for the time being because he's taken over by his spirit, which is a soul, which starts screaming and screeching that it needs a ticket. And the fellow is completely taken over. And not only that, because it's a soul that has been up there and seen the worlds, so he knows a thing or two. He knows the truth. He's out of the goof, that's him. He's been floating around. And therefore, the dibba could also be a very uncomfortable situation because anybody that comes in contact with it, it just reveals all the sins. Like, you filthy person, what did you just do last night? So people don't like being around the dibba because, if they're not holding at a level, it's pretty scary, pretty frightening.
Wouldn't go into an animal.
No, that's a different thing. It's a gilgul that could be.
it only goes to you then.
I'm sure there's a movie out there that probably has a dibbic story. I don't know. But the Metzia says this is a real Indian. And at times that we had great people, and Chafetz Chaim, I think that's what they say officially, was the last that dealt with the Dibukim. But anyways, so Reb Chaim Vital, of course, the main Talmud from the Holy Arizal, he of course was a chief Dibuk master. I mean, he was Talmud of the Arizal. He knew how to deal with that. And there was a Dibuk that fellow, came into a person, and the guy was talking completely ridiculous. Literally a horrendous mouth. Saying very inappropriate things and very embarrassing things. And the Holy Reb Chaim Vital says, listen, buddy, you're crying on one hand, give me a ticket, I need a ticket, somebody give me a ticket. But as you're crying for a ticket, you're talking like mamish. I mean, like nobody can stand in the dollar amish. You're talking so crazy.
Are they fighting also physical or?
No. Usually the fellow that had the dibuk felt very ill-stated and out of control, and like mamish, lost his mind because he's being used.
It's two souls.
Yeah, he's being hijacked. It's a hijack. It's a literal hijack. And he's talking, mamish, this guy is sitting over there, just some soulless mamish yapping. And this guy's yapping horrendous things. You want a ticket, ticket means tshuva, you want to rectify yourself, you want to become holy. But on the other hand, you're sitting here, Lashon Hara, not nice things, like everything. The question was, how, if you saw the truth, and you're in big trouble now because you saw the truth, why are you still sitting? How do you come here crying in one sentence, and you're like, please give me a tickle, so some guy walks in front of you, and dirt comes out of your mouth. Like, what's going on with you? So the Dibuk tells Reb Chaim Vital, he says, Rebbe, you don't understand. I can't control myself. He says, what does that mean? He says, the way it works in the world of truth? Whoever you are in this world, whatever you did, it just continues in the next world. So therefore, yes, I messed up in this world. That's why I need a ticket. That's why they didn't want me in the next world. But when I came there, all I was looking for was trouble. And there ain't no trouble up there. So therefore, of course I need a ticket. But I'm talking like crazy because that's the Metzias of who I am, and the Metzias stays. And that's the hardest pain of it all. I know the truth, of course I know the truth. I said, please rectify my soul and let me get up there. But at the same time, one of the deepest pains is because of my actions of who I was, when the buck stops and I didn't do tshuva, that's what I do. So therefore, when I'm up there, I'm looking, for Averis, which are not there. Now I'm here and there's things going on, so I'm excited for both of them. And I need to take him to the other hand. There's no control anymore because my body, my life stopped. But my life stopped at where the ticker left off because I didn't do tshuva. So therefore, that's what's going on. So please, Avrahman said, clean my soul. It's so deep and profound. That means, as long as our soul is here in our guf and we're still capable, that's when you got to make the move. Because however you get there, whatever levushin, whatever you, now the famous thing that all the mashgichim will say, but this is the idea. That Gehenna, right? I think the Milder used to say this all the time, but everyone says it. That Gehenna and Gan Eden is the same place. One fellow, for him, he learned here all his life, did Torah mitzvahs, he gets up there, it's in Yishmak of his medrash, you know. You got to have a nice cold beer, some good chul, comfortable chairs, nice farm, good chavrusas. Gets to go to some nice shiurim, he gets to hear a little bit from Reb Shimon Bar Yochai, he gets to go up to Moshe Rabbeinu, makes a little turn by the Baal Shem Tov, you know, but he's hanging around, his mamish is enjoying it. The fellow that's Gehenna is in the same spot, but he's looking for, you know, the women's section, and he's looking, you know, for the, you know, and it's not there, and he's in pain because that's what he needs. That's what I do, and all these things. People sitting and doing Avodas Hashem, and get me out of here. That's one side of the coin. This gives us a little bit of Bilam. Bilam is, we know, how do you get to Ruach HaKodesh? You have the whole Mesillas Yesharim, you have person sits and works at his Kedusha level to the highest levels, he works on himself, and his Torah, and his Amunah, and his Kedusha, and his Taivus, and his Shyness, and he gets elevated and elevated and elevated until he starts seeing the light, and then he starts seeing more like Gaval. Another way, and then he starts, you know, he reaches levels. There's another way, sometimes quicker but scarier, to reach levels, Koich Satuma, Zelu Umazeh. If Moshe Rabbeinu on one side, got a Moloch on the other side, but they're like, you know, two opposite sides of them, you know, but it's Zelu Umazeh. So Bilam, of course he sees the Eibishter. I don't know if he saw it, but the Eibishter's talking to him. And throughout the Eibishter could say, Bilam, what's going on with you? And I know the Eibishter's talking to me, but I'm so fatumit, I'm so in the klip, I'm so far. I'm so mamish, like in the dumps, and I need that koiches takos look, I need that Taivus woman and Taivus everything that was going on. Balak is coming, I'm getting covered, and you know. So I don't really care. It's not about I don't care, it's I can't really control myself now, this is who I've created, my image, my essence. So even if Hashem is with me and mamish, you know, screaming at me and telling me not to make trouble, I'm no control about this. What I do, you know, I'm cursing out the Jews. You look at the psukim, the Eibishter is like, no, it's not going to work over there. You know, I blessed them, right? The pasuk says, the Eibishter tells Bilam, right? Bilam sees clearly. He's like, Vayar Bilam kitov b'nei Hashem levarchas Yisrael. He sees clearly that the Eibishter is protecting Klal Yisrael. And then what do we see later? Right away in the next pasuk, Vayisa Bilam Hasein of Ayaris Yisrael Shech Shvatov. Rashi says Bilam raised his eyes. He's trying to put an ayin hara in Klal Yisrael. Imbecile. Pasuk before you just said, I see Kitayv Hashem, Kitayv B'nei Hashem, that I see Klal Yisrael is, you know, good in the Eibishter's eyes. I should probably bless them. No, let me try to make an ayin hara. You just came to the recognition that these fellows are protected by God Almighty, you know? No, let me try to go to the other side. I'm just looking, it's like a comedy skit. Two clowns, Bilak and Bilam. Mom is running around, you know? Eibishter's like, all right, try it. No, I can't try it. The Eibishter, he knows who God is. He knows what the Eibishter is. He's the Navi of the Umas Ha'olam. But he can't. This is who he's at. Just like that Neshama said. This is what he became. This is his essence. Now how much work it takes to change? Lazy. I don't want to do that. I don't have koiches for that. But look at the opposite. What's the opposite? Two famous stories. One, of course, everybody knows the famous story, Shlomo Carlebach, with the holy Reb Moshe Perlstein. Everybody knows the holy Reb Moshe Perlstein. What was his main thing that he was involved in? Picking shmuyim. He'd go around making sure. Sadly enough, in the days where all those pirates would lock up, you know, Jews in those times weren't allowed to own any land. In Europe, most places. So everyone had to have landowners that they had to pay rent to. Sadly enough, they didn't make any money. These pirates had no rachmanis on these people. They would take men, women, and children and stuff them into dungeons, and they dropped dead. They couldn't care less.
Where was this?
This was 200 years ago in Europe.
Oh.
And Moshe Perlstein took it upon himself the whole time to run around the world collecting money in order to bail out these neshamas, these people, these families. And Avada, sadly enough, Reb Mosh Perlstein passes away, comes up to Gan Eden, such a holy, such a tzaddik, such a great, this Reb Mosh Perlstein. And he's like, listen, they tell him, the trumpets are blasting, let's go to Gan Eden. He says, no problem, I just got to make a short visit. Let me visit my friends in Gehenna. Right, Well, if I could say it as good as Shlomo does. And he says, okay, that's not your spot, but, he says, I just want to say hi, make some visits to some old friends, good Yidden. Sadly, people that got caught up in the wrong activities. And he comes to where Gehenna is, and he jumps in, and he's mamish, I'm not leaving. I'm here. Like, you got the wrong seat. I mean, this isn't for you. Get out of there. He says, no, this is where I'm at. He says, a bunch of times, we can't do that. We can't, Gehenna's going to have to cool down. We're going to have to make this geschmack. You got to get out of there. Moshe Perlstein says, you want me to leave? Take me and all my boys together. And what happened, of course, he says, this is what I did all my life. All my life, I was taking everybody out of captivity. So if this is what I do then, it's what I do now. And as you know, that's what they granted him. They're like, of course. The best from Island is like, this is the way it works. It's whatever you do here, you continue doing up there. So he's right. And Moshe took all the souls out of Gehenna and danced with them to Gan Eden. So you see the total opposite. Mama Shahid, everyone knows the famous Gemara Ksubas, but Rabbi Shua ben Levi, one of the few that merited going to Gan Eden without death. Everybody knows the story. He's sitting and learning, and what happens? Malach HaMavos comes and says, buddy, Shua ben Levi, time has come, you got to come with me. He's like, that's it. He's like, that's it. Time is up. He says, no problem. Where are you taking me? He says, your place is in Gan Eden. You're all right. He says, I'm in Gan Eden. One second. Before you take me, got to check out my spot. Want me to move? Let's see where I'm at. I got to see if I'm asking. He says, no, trust me, you're good. Let me show you. So he says, before you take me, give me your knife. I don't know. I know you're a monkey business guy, Yitzhara. Give me your knife. Like this, I feel comfortable. You won't kill me. He says, no problem. I'm just showing you the spot. Take my knife. And he takes him with him. Mark Subas, Ein Zayin. And he goes up to his place. And he says, I can't see. So the Yitzhara picks up Shua ben Levi, 1, 2, 3, with the sword. He jumps into Gan Eden. And Malcham says, hey, he grabs him by his bekisha. He's at the end. He's like inside. He's like, get out of there. He's like, I am not getting out of here. It's a shvua. I'm here. He's like, you can't do that. The game don't work that way. Too bad. So Bezin Shamayla says, Gemara says, ask the Eibishter. He says, what do you do? So the Eibishter says, listen, let's check if he ever nullified any of his shuas before. What does he do in this world? Did he ever nullify? Let's see. Because what you do here is what you do there. So if he's a fellow that he was never nullified his swears, they check, they make quick, check the computers. Shua ben Levi always kept his word. Never didn't keep his word. Eibishter says, well, that's the way it works. If he never broke his word down here, and he said he's not getting out of there, he's in there. So the Mullah was like, okay, at least give me back my knife. You got to continue my job. The Eibishter says you got to give it back to him because he's got jobs to do. And what happens? He's hanging around Gan Eden. He's going visiting the yeshivas. Comes to Reb Shimon Bar Yochai. Shimon Bar Yochai says, who are you? He says, Joshua Levi. He says, you're Levi. He says, you ever saw the rainbow? Which is a symbol of a big tzaddik, because you know about Reb Shimon Bar Yochai, that he never saw the rainbow because he was so holy, he protected. And Reb Shimon Levi says, yeah, I've seen the rainbow. So he says, what? So then what chus do you have to hang around here? This is for the greatest. So Mara says, Reb Shimon Levi, of course, but he was so great that there was no rainbow in his times either. But he was completely humblified, and from Reb Shimon was afraid to make himself like peace, me and Shimon, like no rainbow, We're here, same spot. Let's cheer to cheer. So he lied and he said, for the sake of peace, even though he never, for the sake of nullification. No, so the question is, he just got in there for not lying. How was he lying over here? Shabbos, because this was a need of bittul. So he was pushed for the coverage of Shimon Bar Yochai. It means that everything he did all his life was Hashem Shemayim. Everything he did was for real. So therefore, here for Reb Shimon, he's like, I can't, like Chas v'Sholom, make myself me Reb Shimon. So that's why he lied. So that's the pshat, because that's the question. The way you got in here was, because whatever you did down here, that's what you do that. And all of a sudden you like say a fat lie, like, no, I've seen many of them. And like, if when I says really didn't, that's why. But the Nikud is because he was also Hashem Shemayim, he was so holy, he's like, I gotta nullify myself from Shimon. This is what it takes for the sake of peace, right? And it's okay, it's not a lie. But what do we see? We start understanding a little bit that you could see, the Piaseczner says something very deep. I've said it over many times.
What happened to the sword?
No, he's still at work, sadly. He's got part of life is he got,
He gave back the sword.
He had to get back to sword. Shemayim did amazing. Shem said, you got to get back to sword. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe, that's his job. Maybe he sugar-coated it to make it a little sweeter. I don't know. He dipped it in Gan Eden in the mikveh. It's less painful. Who knows? But anyways.
He's alive up there?
He's sitting up alive in his goof.
What's the point?
Oh, mamish.
Yeshua maybe?
It's a different island. Rukmi is what's the point that...
Oh, he went up. He's one of the people that never died. They went up straight to Gan Eden.
So the pshat is,
There's 10, right? 10
the reason why we mentioned this in order because when I go into that Sugin house, because the idea of what you do is what you do there. But anyway, Stam, it does say in Parsha that he was on such a holy level. But for us, our goof is, very holy, but, of course it's holy, but,
Shimon is sitting with his goof also, or no?
No, Shimon's soul. Shimon, there's only very few people.
Different than Shemayim? People
What do you mean? There's a kever of Shimon Bar Yochai.
All right.
Wait, so how many went up B'chaim? 10 people? I think it was 10.
Shimon had Eliyahu
Eliyahu
Sarach Basasher, Yaakov Avinu's granddaughter, Asher's daughter.
Yisha.
Shimon Levi.
Yisha.
Yaakov Avinu Lameis.
Never sinned.
Yisha.
Yishai never sinned, right?
Oh,
Right, Yishai, there's no sin in him. But it says later, another Tana in the same Gemara tried doing the same thing. Well, I remember now if I'm look, Chanina or something, he tried doing the same thing a little while later.
That were you were shooting?
Yeah, tried to check. He was also very holy. And the Torah came to take him. He's like, okay, will you take him? He says, let me check. He's like, okay. He's like, give me your sword. He's like, 1 second. He tried to do it. No, I know this trick already. No, you can't fool me anymore. He's like, I've only worked once with Shimon Levi. But listen, it's very high levels. Shimon Levi was so holy and so kaddish that, for him. But anyways, but the Nekuda is, it's about what you do here. It's about what you do here. You could have, the Holy Piaseczner says something very deep, very awesome. He says, like we're saying, we wish we could have Hashem reveal himself to us in the most awesomest ways, right? He says, but if we're not holding there, it wouldn't help. It is mamish reveal all the heavens in front of us. But when you're not in that spiritual mode, it ain't going to talk to you. That's what he says. The Eibishter talks to everybody on their level. He says sometimes it's mamish the deepest. Person's feeling mamish depressed. Mamish dark and cold, and distant from the Eibishter, and he's like, oh, I go. He says it's not darkness, it's the biggest light. What do you tell me? You call that light? He says, yeah, because what happens? You're like, oh man, I wish I could do tshuva. You get somebody so serious in that much, you're like, I don't want to be here right now. This is horrendous. I feel like I'm the lowest dumps. Everything stinks. Like, please, Hashem, get me out of here. That's Ruach HaKodesh. That's like splitting the sea in front of you. Because that's the level you're at. That's what you're understanding. He's so distant. I'm just talking to you, a dark lager, dark and dark. It's geschmack, but that's where you're at. Right now you're in the dark, so maybe he reveals himself through that dark. And then a person does, he has that decision, Okay, maybe I should get out of this place. But if he came at that moment and showed you, you are Navi, we come to ends with a Ram Avinu at your toenails and say, hey, come with me, you'd say, what wasn't that cigarette I just smoked? Like, what's going on? I don't believe this. You wouldn't even believe it. You wouldn't tap into it. So the Eibishter has to come to everybody on that level. Bilam, he's seeing the like awesomest thing in the world, but because his mom is like he just doesn't get it, right? You know, the donkey's talking to him and he's talking back. Like everyone around told the Muslims farm, what are you doing? Don't you realize? No, he doesn't realize. He doesn't realize. The donkey is the smallest thing he doesn't realize. He doesn't realize that the Eibishter is telling him in his face, this isn't going to work, and he's spending mamish, bush. He can't push it being Michael on his own covered. At every moment, he's just, no, Bill, give me another chance. Let's try from here. Let me get him. In that moment, Kiviyachal, that split second, that Kiviyachal, that the af of the Eibishter, whatever that means. And of course, if the Eibishter didn't make that moment happen at that time, he knows all these things. Nobody else knows these things. Bilam knows these things, but it don't change him. So therefore, when we come to this week's parsha, you has to mamish contemplate, This parsha brings us into the 3 weeks. Really, the first Shabbos in the 3 weeks is always Pinchas. But the bridge between, we're coming out of Sivan, Torah, Tammuz, which is, of course, it's already a hard month, but what brings us past to Shavasar B'Tammuz is Balak. And why is that? What's the lesson? Lesson is as follows. We know the highest times in the Jewish calendar, the deepest light, is in the 3 weeks, the Bein Hamtzarim, as everybody knows. Kol Reitfeh Yisigua Bein Hamtzarim. Kol Reitfeh, all the Svarim talk, Kol Reid, if you want to run after the Eibishter and you want to grasp him, it's in Bein Hamtzarim. Bein Hamtzarim, as dark as the Shechina comes down, it's the lowest point, it's mamish so dark, for us it's a Gavaldige Matana. It's almost like Hanukkah, like the Shechina literally comes to our house where we're living, in mamish, on whatever level, it's pretty low, but it's like, wow, Shalom Aleichem Hashem, good to see you. I'm so sad that you have to come down so low to where I am. I mean, pick me up. Maybe bring me up a little bit. That's the power of Bein Hamtzarim. Bein Hamtzarim is the Musik. But the Balatanya says, Melech Basad and El, the Avodas Yisrael says it's in Bein Hamtzarim. The Eibishter leaves his palaces, they're kicked out. And the Mamish comes down to wherever he is, Mamish, the lowest levels that the Shechina reaches. But it's like...
Why? Why does he come down? For what?
Dollars. His Mamish is the time that the Beis Hamikdash Yerushalayim gets destroyed. The Eibishter is in Golos. But where is he coming? He's coming to our place. He's coming to our levels. We're in Golos. It's like, well, it's like, the Eibishter, nice to see you here. Why don't we chill a little higher? Like, take me. Just let me up. Bring me somewhere greater. And therefore, we all know